Alright everyone, welcome back to the advanced tutorial series for the TFDi Md-11. I am your host, Mustafa. You can find me streaming over on Twitch about 3 days a week usually, and doing mostly Flight Simulator with the occasional other games as well. So you can go over and check me out there. If you have any questions on this tutorial series, I would encourage you to leave a comment. I do read the comments and try to answer all of them. However, if you want a faster response and a more robust conversation, the best way is to join the Discord. The link down in the description below, and I'd love to see you there. Please also leave a like and a subscribe on this video if you're finding these helpful. It does help to grow the channel, and hopefully this is helpful in getting you to be in a place where you can fly this beautiful bird in a Microsoft Flight Simulator. So with that, I think we should just get to it. This is the next chapter in our series in which we're actually going to prepare to fly this bird. So this is going to be a three-part series now, like a series within the series of actually doing a full flight from Ontario, California to Salt Lake City, Utah. So we're here in the morning in Ontario, getting ready to take control of our beautiful UPS Md-11 freighter. And we're going to do everything from the pre-flight to the planning of it through a sim brief, all the way through the pre-flight procedures, loading up the FMC, and taxiing it out to the runway. At that point, we're going to stop the video, and we'll start another video for the takeoff, climb, and cruise procedures for the Md-11. And the final video, part 3, will be the descent and landing and shutdown of the aircraft in Salt Lake City. So if you're looking for one specific part, that kind of breaks it up a little bit, makes the videos a little bit shorter and easier for you guys to find what you're looking for. So this is part 1 of that. This is going to be the pre-flight, taxi, and basically right up to the runway. Pre-flight and taxi, essentially. Okay, so with that, we would normally start here at the aircraft, and we would want to verify that we do have our chocks in place, because we're going to want to make sure we don't have any brakes set on the aircraft. Remember, this center gear needs to be able to move around. We could also just do a kind of a little once around and make sure the aircraft is in a good state. You notice the rudder hard over, that's from the wind. It's unpowered right now. You'll notice some flight controls drooping from lack of hydraulics, and all that is normal. So you also see we've got bins already loaded in the cabin here, that in the freight deck. And that is because it's just remembering from where I left this before. So we will update with new load numbers the correct freight, and we'll get that all set up for you. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and get on to the flight deck. All right, so here we are in the flight deck of the Md-11. We're going to get some stuff powered and ready to go, and then we're going to do our flight planning and get this all set up. So let's go ahead and slide into the captain's seat. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to turn around here. I'm going to go ahead and open the door, just because that would normally be open at this stage of flight, and then that way we've got to close it and lock it when the time comes. So as per our normal procedures, we're going to look down and start with the weather radar. Make sure that is off. I'm just going to click that button there, make sure the weather radar is off. Fuel switches are cut off. Parking brake is released. The spoiler is down. The flaps are up. The throttles are idle. We already said the fuel. The gear lever is down. Our fuel dump switches are guarded. Our engine ignition is off. And the emergency power is set to off. With that, battery's coming on. We're going to go straight to external power. And we'll get our screens up here in just a second. There we go. Screens coming to life. And we will do nav lights on. Also, while we're down here, we'll go ahead and do our smoking lights to on. No smoking lights, not inviting you to smoke. And if it was dark, we could turn our dome light on right now, but we don't really need the dome light. It's morning here in California. There's plenty of light, so we can leave that alone. Going to go ahead and do the fire test real fast. We'll get the APU going. We're going to get the IRSs aligning, and then we're going to stop, and we're going to do our pre-flight planning, and that way that can be doing that while we're doing that. So we're going to come up here and hit the test. We're looking for 7 lights, 3 down there, 3 above, and the APU handle. We're also looking for those bells and the aural alerts of all 3 engines. And that's a good test. So that all worked perfectly. And now we'll come over here and we'll start the IRSs. That's going to do the cargo fire test. And we're also going to come over here real quick and hit the APU power and get the APU going. All right, while that is all booting up, we're going to leave the... we're gonna go ahead and look over at the flight planning process over on SimBrief. So I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to show you guys that through the magic of the OBS tablet. This is not built into the sim. This is a smoke and mirrors thing I do on my editing. So there we go. We're looking at this, and we are UPS 683. We're going from Ontario to Salt Lake City. And if we come down here, we're looking for the MD-11 or MD-1F, which is the MD-11F. Now, when you do this, you will just see these from TFDi, these the MD-11F GEs, Pratt & Whitneys, and the ERFs, GEs, and Pratt & Whitneys. If you are not a collector's edition, I believe you do not have the ERF. So you're going to want to choose the GE or Pratt & Whitney version of the TFDi one here and use that. These profiles that exist here are my custom ones that I've built off of these guys. So, but if you don't have the ERF, don't use the ERF ones. Mine are based on the ERF because that's what I have, because I've got the collector's edition. So, FYI. So we're going to choose UPS Microsoft Flight Simulator. This one is connected to the X-Plane Rotate one, so we don't want to use that one. It does have some things in here, like the registration number that's tied to this aircraft, things like that. It's not necessary to do that. I just like to do that. So we've got that information all set up there. We can also look at our list of our alternates here. I don't know what this RKS is even. This is Southwest Wyoming Regional. Sounds like a good place to put an MD-11. 6,700 feet runway? No, I don't think so. I think if we're going to do an alternate anywhere around us, and Denver's pretty far away. I think that's what we might have to do, though. Let's just do Denver. Is that on the list here? It should be. Or if not, I can put it manually. They're not in alphabetical order. I don't like that. I don't like that. And there's oh man, the list that never ends. Good grief. Okay, we're just going to type it. So we're going to do KDEN. There we go. Denver's our alternate. We're probably not going to go there, but there we go. It adds a bit of extra weight on our plane too, so it makes it a little heavier since it's pretty light with the amount of fuel we need to get to Salt Lake City. All right, so coming down to the next section, I use the Delta flight plan layout because that's what I'm used to. I like the way they laid that out, so that's what I have there. We've got the current air rack. We don't need any ETOPS. We're not going over water, and we have more than 2 engines anyway. And we don't need step climbs for this short of a flight, so I'm just going to turn those guys off so it doesn't bother with those. On the bottom here, we're departing 26 right. We can verify that with the weather here for the current real-world ATIS. ILS visual approach is in use, runway 26 right, landing and departing 26 right. So there we go. As far as the arrival runway into Salt Lake, if we look here, they are now doing... this is interesting. So I guess the runway is reopened. I wonder if they were doing something earlier, because when I filmed this earlier for the setup stuff, it was RNAV only, and 3-4 left was closed, but it is not closed anymore. So that's interesting. I wonder what was up with that. I wonder if something happened. So anyway, so we've got ILS 3-4 left and 3-4 right in use. 3-4 right is going to be better for us anyway, though, because that's going to take us right over by the cargo terminal. So that's what we want. So we want 3-4 right, not 3-4 left. I'm going to change that. And interestingly enough, it's predicting the correct runways this time, and it's still giving us Delta 6, and I know this is wrong now because that is for landing south. So we're going to change that to the Quinn 5 in just a moment here. So let me do... Problem is I don't remember how to spell it. So I got to go into Navigraph here real quick. I'm going to unload that. And we're going to search KSLC. And we're going to open the charts and look at the star, and it's the Quinn QWENN5. Let's just make sure that's the way the chart wants it. Yeah, QWENN5. Okay. So we go back here, and we're just going to change this Quinn 5 right there. And if we analyze the route again, it doesn't know what the Quinn 5 is. Oh, is it QW, not QU? Stupid moose. All right, there we go. Quinn 5. That is appropriate for our direction of flight, so not the Delta. So Sunshine 5, Las Vegas, Q70, Blip, Q842, Winnan, Milford, Quinn 5. Everything else is fine. I'm going to tell the passengers 0 because sometimes this thing likes to put the extra 4 passengers on for like freight load people. We wouldn't normally do that, so we're going to say 0 for that. Altitude will leave an auto. Payload will leave an auto. 0 fuel weight, auto, all that stuff. So everything's ready to go, and what we can do on this is we can do calculate, compare, and just see if there's anything that we don't appreciate. And it's giving us flight level 370 for this run, and I think that's fine. So that's okay. We're going to go ahead and generate that. We're not going to worry about pre-filing it because we're not going to fly this on VATSIM. We're going to be sticking to off-network for today because we're doing a tutorial video. And that's all good right there. Perfect. We could also check the weather. I normally would have done that before I hit the submit to see if there's anything I didn't like about the routing, but I have a feeling it's all fine. Significant weather. We do have some turbulence here between 160 and 210. So we're going to go through that a little bit, and if we look at the turbulence map here, we can see specifically over here, but this is a little bit of a range of turbulence, so not too bad though. All right, so all that is done. We can go into our Sim Toolkit Pro here, and we're going to load this in. This is just for making the management of the data easier, and we're not on VATSIM, so I don't care about that. But here's our OFP, and that's what we're going to use to mess with our flight. And then we also want to make sure we set up our charts. So we're going to go to Flights, Import from SimBrief, and import this into here. Again, if you don't have Navigraph, highly, highly recommend Navigraph for the charts and flight planning and all kinds of stuff. SimBrief is free, but the charts are just an absolute necessity. And especially if you fly outside of the U.S., you know, you can get the free FAA charts and stuff through SkyVector for the U.S., but outside the U.S., then it's, you know, you're going who knows where to get stuff. So we're going to add to the Salt Lake City chart the approach for ILS 34 right. So we're going to pin that right there. And I think that's good. We're going to select Ontario then. We're going to bring up the Ontario weather, so we'll have that. And we can bring up the airport chart for Ontario. We're here at the UPS pad. Remember I mentioned in a previous video that 26 left is closed right now, so we're going 26 right. Gives us more runway anyway, 12,197 feet. Okay, so with all that set, our route planning is done. We can close the tablet there, and we're going to come back to the real tablet, and we're going to go into Dispatch and import the flight plan. And we know it's right because it's got Quinn 5. Our original one had the Delta 6 and it also had 33,000 feet. We're now 37, so a little bit different from earlier. But you can see all of our data here. Looks like our takeoff weight is going to be about 446,658 pounds. And we're taking block fuel of 54,291. 15,000 of that is our alternate fuel for getting to Denver if we have to do that. We got about an hour 38 of total time. Time in the air of about an hour and 10 minutes to get to Salt Lake City. So not bad. Not bad at all. All right. So let's pick up now where we left off with the pre-flighting. Remember, we've got the IRSs that are in the process of being aligned. So we're going to start up here, and we're just going to go down the list. So these are already in the align mode, and they're working away. We're going to do a test of the flight recorder. We see the bounce of the needle there. That's good. These are dark and guarded. This is going to go to high. This is going to go to roughly noon. These are off and dark. That's good. The engine ignition is off for now. That's fine. We're going to come up here and do a hydraulic system test. That's going to start that process going. And we now have electricity on for plenty of time, so we know we're not charging the battery anymore, so we can go ahead and put this to arm for the emergency power. And when we get closer to starting the aircraft and pulling the cart away, we'll go ahead and pull the external power. We don't need to do that right now. These are all in a good position. We're going to go ahead and go APU on, get some airflow in here. And all of our switches are dark and guarded. All of our systems are in auto. That's what we want. Down here we can configure our panel lights. as we would like them. We're going to arm the emergency lights. Seatbelt signs are off. Tow smoking sign is on. Taxi and landing lights are stowed. Nav light is on. We're also going to go ahead, as per procedure for this company, we're going to put the logo light on. I know it's daytime, but we're going to do it anyway for habit. And then we're going to come up here, and you see, aha, okay, this is good. So these are blinking. That means they are ready to align. They need us to initialize in the FMS, so that's fantastic. Over here, all of our lights are dark. Our system is in auto for the cabin pressure. Again, all dark here, including the defog. That's good. We're going to reset the fuel used, and we're going to do our annunciator light test. We're checking our lights, make sure they're all working. And then we're going to look down here, make sure our caution and warning lights are working. And also looking for that air system test. There, it just came on, so we can let that go. Air system test has begun. All right. We're going to come down here, and we would check our oxygen, which isn't really modeled, so we can't do anything. All these switches are dark, and the alternate static air is in normal. We come across the front here, and we're going to turn up our panel lights for the backlighting. Looking at our weather in Ontario, 2988 is the current QNH, so we're going to put that to 2988. Verify we are in QNH, and minimums are set to 200. That's fine. We're in inches of mercury. Traffic data, VO1, VOR2, and TCAS on there. We're at 250 knots indicated. Heading we can now set to be the current heading, 259, and 10,000 feet is set there. That's good. We'll put traffic and data on the FO as well as VOR1 and 2. We'll set his to 2988, and that's looking good there. All right. And then as we come around the horn here, we're going to come down to the center. We want to put the config page on so we can see this. We're going to pull out the gear and make sure we get 4 reds and 4 reds, and we do. It goes back in. All right, 2988 on the standby. And we're going to cage the standby horizon. And we're going to verify that our auto brake is off and our brake accumulator looks good. FMC, we have the current nav database, 13 June to 10 July. Today is the 29th of June. Flight plan init. And we are going from KONT to KSLC right there. And we're going to initialize the IRS, and the alternate is KDEN. I'm just going to go ahead and put that in right now. We'll come back to this in a moment. The parking brake is still off. That's fine. You know what we didn't do, though, when we did this? We didn't set the fuel and payload. Uh-oh. Error setting payload. Why are you setting an error now? Sometimes it does this, and you got to do it a few times. Come on. All right, well, we're going to try something here. Set the payload there. So I think it set that. There we go. Sometimes you got to clear it out and then set it. It might be a goof with that. So, all right. So we're set now. That's good. Coming down on the pedestal here, we're going to check the throttles and make sure that our takeoff warning horn is working. We're looking for 3 things: stab. Yep, stabilizer, flaps, and slats, and then we test number 2 and 3 together, and we have that as well, so that's good. All right, our dial flap is set to 10 currently. Again, fuel switches are off. We can put the VHF2 on here so I can monitor that normally, and again, this is off. We're going to set the altitude reporting on there. We're going to set 0603. 0603, we'll do that. I'm just going to make up a squawk code. we're not on a VATSIM, we just do whatever we want. So that's set there, and then we're going to test the TCAS system now that we're aligned. So TCAS test is in process. Door is unlocked, and that's fine. Also, pass, perfect. Aileron trim and rudder trim are both zeroed, and so that is all set. And one last thing we need to do is we need to test the EGPWS. Slide slow. Pull up. Because we can't do that until we're aligned as well. So that's going to go. and then we can put that back to norm. It'll keep running the test until the test is done.
Pull up. Terrain. Pull
Okay.
Up. Don't sink.
All right. While it's finishing that test up, we're going to go into the FMC and set this up. So we already set our to from and our alternate and initialize the IRS. We need to put in our flight number, which is UPS 683, and our cruise level is 370, and our cost index, cruise level is 370, our cost index is 80. I may have stumbled over my words there. Also, I realized I turned the sim sounds down a little bit for when we were outside the plane. I'm going to put them back to where I normally have them, give us some immersion, and there we go. Okay, next page is weight and balance. So what is our zero fuel weight? It is 394.4. 394.4 goes in zero fuel weight. 54.3 is on board, and that's fine. We'll confirm that. And then we can bring in our... Okay, sometimes that'll happen. Just ignore that. 27.7 and 27.6 is our takeoff CG and our zero fuel weight CG appropriately there. We don't need to do anything with the third page, so we just cycle that back around to the first one, and we'll go to flight plan. All right, here's where we put the flight plan in. Ontario. We're doing the SID. We're doing 26 right, and the Sunshine 5 to Las Vegas, and insert that. And after Las Vegas, we are going to the Q70. So we need to click on Las Vegas, Airways, and we're going to do Q70, and that's going to blip Bravo Lima India Papa Papa, Bravo Lima India Papa Papa, and then we have another airway, Q842, 42, and that is going to Winnin Whiskey India November Echo November, Whiskey India November Echo November, and then we have a direct to Milford, so we're going to just insert those, come on down the way and put in MLF for Milford, and from Milford that's the beginning of our star, so we're going to click that star. We're planning the ILS 34 right, and that is going to give us on the Quen 5 from Milford. And we have transition of FFU and plage, and from looking at the plates before, if you saw the previous video, we know plage is what we want there. So we're going to set that up, we're going to insert that. Alright, and now we're going to look through and check for discontinuities. We probably have a vectors thing going on. So, Quen, FFU, camp, plage, vector, yeah, right there. And then AG. So again, since we don't have ATC, I'm going to delete this now. But if you had ATC, I would leave this until they gave you clearance appropriately onto the approach, because they could vector you around. But it's a weird instance here where the plage is the end of the. It's not really the end of the star. It ends at plage and then it's vectors, but the approach begins at plage. So you would really just transition at plage, and probably 95% of the time that's what they're going to do for you. But you want to leave that in there just in case, because you don't want to just start going off and doing something without a clearance. So we're going to clear the vector, and then we're going to clear the discontinuity. And now it's plage to algae. Alright, next thing we're going to do, we're going to go back to the top, and we're going to double check our altitude and our speed restrictions. And so if you guys were here before, I'm going to go over this again because we might as well. This will kind of double as our departure briefing. So we're going to bring up the tablet again here, and we're going to look at what we're doing. So we're taking off. We're going to leave push back here. We'll do nose to the right, so we're facing Yankee 2. We'll taxi Yankee 2, Yankee Whiskey past 26 left, which is closed, and hold short of 26 right at Whiskey. Runway heading is 258. We have 12,197 feet of runway, and that will take us off. We have the Sunshine 5 departure, with a 11,300 foot MSA because of all the mountains up here just to our north, which is actually where we're heading, which is why we have some very important altitude restrictions that we need to abide by. So we're going to take off 258 initially. After passing 1460, we can go direct to Dink, which is not going to be quite 258. It's a slight bend there. And then from Dink, we go to the Pomona VOR. At the Pomona VOR, we need to be at or below 8,000 feet. After that, we go Sunshine. And in our case, we're going to Broque, which we need to be at or above 12,000 feet. Then on to Livy, at or above 14,000 feet. Then over to Xbox, at or above 17,000 feet. And then we're taking up this way to Manavy, Blazon, and finally the Las Vegas VOR, and that's where this ends. Now, a very important thing to note here is that we do have a speed restriction that says to maintain at or below 250 knots unless otherwise directed by ATC. So that is not 250 knots below 10,000. That is 250 knots until they say so. Now, for us, we don't have ATC today, so first of all, we don't have to really abide by this at all. But for the realism's sake, we're going to, and then we're going to decide at a certain point they will have given us the freedom to continue on up, so we can show you how to simulate that in the aircraft. So we're gonna assume that we're gonna keep that 250 knot speed restriction until after we pass Broque. Okay, so just for our work today. All right, so let's go and look at the box here and make sure this all lines up. So we got that 1460 and then direct to Dink. There's that 250 knots speed below 10,000 anyway. And then we've got these ditto marks to say that 250 is continuing at Pomona below 8,000. Okay, that's fine. Sunshine above 10 is still showing the 250 restriction. But we get to Broque, and suddenly at Broque, it's saying we can be at 310. So clearly it's just deciding erroneously to do that. Now, I'm going to leave that in there, and I'm going to show you how I would prefer to do this, because that way it's really easy when they come back and say delete the restriction, how to put it back. So we're going to leave that, but we're going to make a note that it's going to try and do that to us, and we've got to be ready for it. All right, so that's going to be there. We've got the at or above 12,000 at Broque like we're supposed to. We've got the at or above 14,000 at Livy like we're supposed to. And we have the at or above 17 at Xbox, and that's the last one. So that's all good. We transition to the mocks, and that's all she wrote. We're not going to go into the star until we are in cruise and doing it there. So I'm going to leave it for now. I know we talked about all of it in the last video. It's a little different now because we're not doing the RNAV, but it's very similar, and we'll deal with all that stuff on the cruise side of it as we're got nothing to do in the air. Okay, so the flight plan is set up, and we can now go to takeoff and approach, and we're going to put in our takeoff data, and for that we need to do some performance calculations. So we're going to come back over to here. We're going to go to performance. Ontario, we're looking for 26 right, slope minus 0.1. Get our weather. Weather is a headwind of 8 knots. Temperature is 24 degrees C, and the pressure is 29 or 88. We're going to get our takeoff weight, 48,200. We'll flex. Anti-ice will be none. Flaps, we're going to give it a specific of, let's set it to what it's set to right now. Let's say 10 and see what that gives us. Packs will be on. And calculate. Alright, so that's going to give us a V1 of 131, a VR of 153, and a V2 of 167 with a flex temp of 58. So, to enter all this in, we're going to come back down here. We're going to put 58 up here in the flex. Packs are going to be on. Flaps is going to be 10. And the slope is minus 0.1. And the headwind was a +8, so we don't need to put a plus, we just put 8. It's a positive number. The outside air temperature was 24 C. Put that there. And now it wants the V speeds. Now I believe it was 131. This is always going to be a little bit different. 53 and 67. So the other two are right. So this is going to be 131. We're going to override that one, but these guys are the same, so we're going to leave those there, and that's all set to go. You notice we have a stab trim of 4.1 there. So we need to come up here and look at our stab trim, and we need to set that, and I'm going the wrong way. 4.1, right there, 4.1. Beautiful. All right, so that is the box all set up. So I'm gonna go to flight plan there, and I'm gonna go to takeoff data there, just so I can look down and see that if something resets, I can easy access to that, and those are all set up. All right, so we are now loaded and ready to go, and so we are going to shut our doors. We're going to call for push and run some checklists. Normally we would need to call for some of that, but we don't in this case. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the external power. We want to turn that off there. And then over here in the services, we can disconnect the GPU. We're going to close the cargo main and the passenger 1L door. While that's happening, we're going to hit the aux pump on. Aux pump 1 on. And it doesn't really change anything on the brake pressure because it's already set up to where it needs to be. And we're going to engage the parking brake. Okay, parking brake is now set. We can remove the wheel chocks. And now the aircraft is all set for the pushback. So let's go ahead and call GSX for the pushback so they can get in position. And while they are doing that, we're going to run through some checklists. We're going to put the beacon on because we're going to be starting engines and moving here in a moment. So beacon's going to go on. And everything else should be set, I believe. The other thing we need to do is set this to the top altitude of the SID, which was flight level 230. So we're going to set that to 23. And we're going to change this now to runway heading, which is 258 in this case. We're going to leave that at 250. And we'll put this on back on map. There we go. Okay, checklist time. Where did my checklist go? There we go. Okay. So before start checklist, one thing we need to do also actually is close the cockpit door. We're going to lock that. And notice now that it's locked, I can click on that and nothing happens. That actually locks the door. It's pretty cool. And I'm also going to go up here and I'm going to turn on the circuit breaker light, backlighting. Again, not really necessary because it's daytime, but I can do it anyway. All right, so the before start checklist is cockpit door is locked. The aircraft pre-flight has been completed. The sliding windows are closed and locked. I don't believe they're modeled to open anyway in this aircraft. No smoking and seatbelt signs. We need to get those seatbelt signs on. The fuel quantity is 58.6, I believe, and that was checked. Let's see here. 54.2 rather. So I'm remembering from last time. It's going to be nose to the right. Yeah. I'm just going to wait for the finish our checks. So fuel quantity is 54.2. IRSs are aligned. The auto brake should be takeoff, although I feel like that's early in the checklist for that. I think I'm going to edit. Actually, I'm going to edit that to be... Oops, I just messed with my spoiler there. I'm going to put that down to after start, actually. That's a weird place for that to be. Rudder and aileron trim R0. The gear pins are not removed because they just put them in while we're taxiing. The FMS is checked, and the GCP, that's the guidance flight panel, the guidance control panel right here, is set and checked. Departure briefing is complete, and with that we can push back. So let's go ahead and release the brakes. And then just prior to start, aux hydraulic pump number 1 is on. That's that guy right there. Parking brake is now released. It was good in pressure a moment ago. Nav and beacon lights are on. Ignition system A or B. Today is the 29th. That's an odd day, so we're going to use ignition system A. Hydraulic system is in auto, and the air system is also in auto. Fuel system is in auto. And the cabin report we don't have because it's not a passenger thing, and door alerts are all off. So we're good to start. Engines in the engine start sequence is 3, 1, 2. So starting number 3. And we're going to wait till at least 20% or max motoring. I usually do it just a little bit after 20 because we could be sitting here for quite a while otherwise. And I don't want to do that. And it's a sim. And I do have some buttons bound on my Bravo, so you may not see me click them, but you'll see the things go. So there's over 20%. So fuel on number 3. You can see fuel flow there. EGT is going to start to increase there. That's our N1 increasing there. And the engine fires up and comes to life. You notice we didn't have to turn off packs or anything because the systems are in auto. So once I hit the ignition, it did it for us. And everything was hunky-dory. As soon as that light goes out, we can go ahead and start engine number 1. And again, we see N2 rotation right there. Set the parking brake. Looking for better than 20%. N2. There's 20%. Fuel on. Again, fuel flow there. EGT will start to rise. N1 is rising. We've got a good light off of engine number 1. You notice with hydraulics kicking in, the aux 1 pump has turned itself off. So it does that all on its own. Like I said, a lot of this is very automated. It's very cool. And finally starting engine number 2. And we got the N2 rotation. Oil pressures are rising over here. Oil temps are coming up. There goes the pushback tug. We'll wait for the pin. There's 20% and fuel on. Number 2, fuel flow, EGT increase, and 1 increase. There's the pin right there. Barely see him over the, oh, I guess I was kind of down low. So we got the pin, we're clear. He's gonna walk away. Yep, we got the pin, thank you. Give him a little salute. And there is starter cutout right there. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and now put this on to TO. Flaps are going to come to the dial-up flap position, which is currently set to 10, which is what we want. Spoilers are going to arm. This is going to go to TARA and make sure our altitude reporting is on, so our transponder is all set. And we're going to extend the landing lights. We're not going to turn them on, just extend them. And this should cut out on its own, I believe now, but we can help it out. If we just hit the APU button right there, that will start the shutdown sequence. So that will take the APU offline. If we don't do that, I think it does it by itself eventually. It's better to have it. Alright. Let's look at our after start checklist. APU is off, it's cycling down. Anti-ice is not required. Hydraulic system is still in auto, and again, no lights. The electrical system is checked, no lights except the APU, which is in the shutdown sequence and is in auto. The air system, again, no lights, in auto. And ground equipment is removed, and we confirmed the pin. We also have flaps are down to 10 degrees. You can see that right there, flaps 10. Stab trim is 4.1 units, and we can verify that right there, 4.1. Spoilers are armed. They're in the up position right there. Flight controls. So if we go back down here to config, we can run our flight control test, and we're looking for green panels. 2 up and 1 down. 2 up and 1 down. And that should give me, I just configured this earlier. I'm not getting it now. That's annoying. There's the green. I've got some config issues with my there it goes. It's just out of the range of the thing. Okay. And then rudders full left and full right. There we go. That's the green is a way you can know that they're going through their full sequence. You also, if you look close enough here, you'll see 10, 10, 10, 10. So it's showing the flaps and slats extend right there. So you know that's all set. So the config page shows you a lot of stuff. It's really cool. Back to the engine page. So that's all ready to go. All right. Takeoff data is confirmed. We've got our V1-131, VR-153, V2-167 is all set. And our altimeters are set to 2988. Headings are cross-checked. And again, we don't need to worry about having one be seated, so that's all good. All right, so running the after start checklist. Sorry, we just did that. My bad. Never mind. That was just doing it. All right. So the only thing left, this is the EAD down here. This is the, we're looking for a green box, which we do not have right now. But we should get that as soon as we release the brakes, because that's the thing that's waiting for. So we're going to release the brakes. There's the green box. So now we are good. That's the shorthand, good for takeoff. We're going to select the taxi light to taxi. And brakes are released and thrusting forward. And at this point, if we were on ATC, we would call ground Ontario ground, UPS 683 Heavy, coming out of the UPS cargo ramp at Yankee 2, looking for taxi to the runway with, let's say, Quebec. And they would come back, UPS 683 Heavy, taxi runway 26 right via Yankee Whiskey, cross 26 left. You are sitting about 15 feet forward of the nose gear, so we're gonna take this wide because we're not on top of the nose gear. And if you do that right, when you roll out on your turn, you should be right almost dag nabbit on the center line. And it just kind of takes some feel to get used to that. But if you try and track this line like you're driving a 737, you're gonna find yourself quite short when you finally finish that rollout turn. So you just want to be aware of that. And catering truck is going to kind of cut us off. Gotta love the ground vehicles in Microsoft Flight Sim that drive on the taxiways all the time. I do not understand. You see this road right here? That's for you. That's your road, not this. I do not understand. You do have a ground speed right here, so we're doing about 14 knots. So anytime you come to about a 90-degree turn, you do want to make sure you're slowing down a bit. Make sure you're using those brakes. And we're just going to run him over because he's just going to sit there like an idiot. You jerk. All right, we're crossing a runway environment, so we put our high intensities on. And there he goes again. And we'll just leave those on now since we're going to be coming up to the runway where we're going to take off. And that is the pre-flight, startup, and taxi procedure for the MD-11. We're going to stop here just short of 26 right. Again, being mindful where our nose is regarding to that hold short bar. And I'll go ahead and put the brakes on. And we'll pick this up in the next video. So again, you can find me streaming over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mustafa. Would love for you to come and check that out. It's a lot of fun over there. You can actually talk to me directly through chat. Beyond that, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. I do try to read all the comments and answer all the comments I can. But the quicker way and the better way is join the conversation over on Discord. The link for that is in the description down below. So you can join the Discord there. Would love to have you over part of that community. We actually have some real-world pilots and some former pilots over in that community. So you can get some really good insight into the various airplanes there. Would ask if you would, if you're finding this helpful, to leave a like and subscribe on the video. It does help the channel grow, and would appreciate it. So the next video here coming up is going to be takeoff, climb, and cruise coming out of Ontario. So we'll see you back here in just a moment for that.